Hello, everyone. Hi. Excellent. Welcome. So, hello, I'm John. I teach confident communication. This is the mighty Tom Verney of Future Lab. And this is the real-time pitch review. Brace yourselves. We've never done this before. Okay. So, the idea here is Tom is going to do a pitch for an idea within the game space. And I'm going to pause him at annoyingly frequent intervals and give him feedback. And I might ask you for feedback as well. And the main things I'm interested in are the structure of the material and how it's delivered, okay? And ultimately, you know, a good pitch is being persuasive. It's persuading the audience this is something worth listening to. So you're kind of playing the role of investors, but the material itself isn't under scrutiny necessarily. It's how it's being presented. So we have 45 minutes. We'll see how long this takes. I'm going to introduce myself in a moment, but first, Mr. Tom Verney, please tell everyone about you.
Okay. Hey, everyone. My name's Tom. I'm a QA at Future Lab here in Brighton. I've only been in the industry for about 9 months now, working on Power Simulator, which is the best game that's ever been made. That's facts. Yeah, and I just got in contact with John about a month ago. And basically, he tricked me into it, actually. I originally asked, are we going to come along and say hi, and people are going to come up and do their thing, and he's going to do his thing. And then he went, thanks for volunteering. Yeah, that's great. We're going to pre-select somebody. So now I'm here, very nervous in front of lots of people, 9 months in the industry. But it should be fun.
Fantastic, thank you. And I completely tricked him. But here's the thing, safe space. Okay, so things will happen. Okay, I will jump in and point out things that maybe I think you should change, things that are good also. But yeah, although we're judging, we're not judging, so you're okay. All right. So what I'd like you to do is to start off, and I'm wondering where I'm going to go when you're doing a thing. It doesn't matter. If you'd like to leave the stage, because I think the very first moment is really important. I think the first impression you make can probably tip the balance between success and failure. I don't know how you feel about that, but we'll see. So, Tom, if you like, I'm basically going to jump in about 3 seconds into the whole thing. But hey, that's good. So we will imagine this is the start of the pitch. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tom Verney.
Hi, everyone, again. My name is Tom Verney, and I work at Future Lab here in Brighton.
Right, I'm stopping you there. Right, excellent. So, what did you notice? What did you see? At this point, how are you feeling? Like, come at me. You can shout stuff out. What have you seen? What have you noticed?
He seems confident.
He seems confident. Right. This is critical. Thank you so much. I know he said over a microphone. I'm going to repeat what people say. That's the only way around it. So, why? What is he doing? And he's doing brilliantly. Why? What is he doing that makes him appear confident?
His body language, he has good eye contact with the audience.
Fantastic. So this is key. And I would also add, whilst this is nominally how to do a games pitch and how to persuade people that they should invest in your amazing game idea, this is how to be persuasive in a broader sphere as well. I think you know what I mean. There's elements of persuasion in all of this. So standing in a particular way and making eye contact. The classic mistake that I see a lot of times is when people, because we've prepared all this thoroughly, haven't we?
Yeah.
Right? We haven't. But what people do is they won't be ready. So they come up, and naturally you're nervous, right? That's fine. You're in front of lots of people, and you feel a bit nervous. But they haven't gone through the stuff properly. So in the first few seconds, there's, can I see my slides? Is this ready? Checking here. Right, but because we did the hard work, right, Tom's able to come up and go, hi, this is me. And so that's critical. So if you happen to be not thoroughly prepared and you're not going through the stuff at the beginning, it can send out that message where people go, yeah, not sure. You don't seem to be ready. And then they infer, and what did you infer from, well, all of you, what did you infer from this apparent confidence? This knows what he's talking about, right? What an amazing thing to communicate, because that's what you want, right? At the very beginning, you want people to feel that you are a credible source, that you know what you're doing. And so just by exuding apparent confidence, because you're probably nervous in front of lots of people, why not? By doing that, you appear to, they infer from it, you know what you're talking about. Brilliant. Whereas the opposite end of that is floundering. Yeah, you probably don't know what you're talking about. even if you did. So fantastic, great start. So stance, eye contact, and what was the other thing that you noticed? I think maybe you mentioned it.
I said eye contact.
Eye contact. You didn't say anything else. Okay, good. I filled that in my mind. I'm a maverick. I don't play by the rules. So I'm just going to change the technical requirements of this talk as we go through. Now we need 10 mics. Sorry. What else did Tom do? And then I'm going to let him resume. So as part of the eye contact and in that moment. Smiling, bingo, fantastic. Right, it's the magic thing. It's the lubrication in the social interaction. People forget to smile, okay? They think, right, showtime, this matters. Game face. And they leave behind all their humanity. And you think, well, they're a bit weird and cold. And it's just because they're trying to impress you. Anyway, brilliant starts. Continue.
Cool. Yeah, so firstly, I'd like to say thank you for everyone for coming, and also thank you for John. It's not often that you get to do something like this. So I hope everyone has as much fun as hopefully I will be, which I am, promise I am. Yeah, so I'd quite like to give some context to this pitch. I've been coming up with a couple game ideas over the last 6 months that I'm going to pitch to my company. Unfortunately, we decided that it's probably not the best idea just to give company information out to the open. So I don't have a game for you. But I just have a sort of random idea, which I think is within the same space. So my apologies if you're expecting a cool, young indie game dev, but you're just stuck with me for a little bit.
Pause right there. Right. That was lovely. Right, so setting out your stall. This is what I'm going to do. This is what's going to happen. This is what you're expecting. This is what you're going to get instead. Right, but it's just great to communicate that first of all. Being absolutely clear. So I talked about this is how long the session is, even though you already knew that, but just explaining the structure. So that's good, but there was a negative there as well. What do you think it was that I spotted? Sorry?
He kind of insulted himself.
Yes, that's right. Immediately. So sorry, everyone. Right, just classic British mistake, right, where you apologize, right? You're doing brilliantly. Where you apologize profusely because you think somehow that's going to manage expectations. So you don't need to do that. I'm going to show you this thing. It's going to be great. Okay, continue.
Cool. Right, let's go. I was expecting more size when that came up on the screen, which is good. But I've been really interested recently in this. Not necessarily this product. I don't actually like this product that much. But more so augmented reality and the future of augmented reality, and how it could play a part in our daily lives at some point. It's clear right now that the day-to-day use is not there for this. It's not quite where it needs to be the next iPhone, which is what it's kind of being marketed as. And I'm also still deciding if I want to look like RoboCop every time I leave the house, which I'm pretty 50-50 on right now. But in 10 years' time, say when the technology is there and this is integrated into our daily lives, how's this going to look in the entertainment industry? One thing we hear a lot about is the possibilities of video games in AR. Interactive, half virtual, half physical. And this is super cool. I'm really looking forward to having this. But there's got to be other forms of media which could be implemented.
Pause. Right, excellent. Right, it's two things. So material and then the way it's being delivered. I like the, there's a little bit of conflict there where like, here's the thing, and I could see there's some people not sure. How did you feel about that when that came up? Right, so you're conflicted. So I would argue that's a good thing, right? I think if you're going to, deliver something new and interesting, engaging, then cheesing people off a little bit at the beginning could arguably be a good thing. Tom, looking at the slide, like looking loads at this, right? This is giving you nothing, right? There's nothing. So you've got notes here. So just to break it down, so we've got thorough Word document, but crucially, what we talked about, there's a monitor here, right? This is fantastic. So you can look at that knowing pretty much 100% that whatever's there is here. The trouble with looking around is a bit, I'm going to look at this thing, rather than delivering the talk, and then there's some slides there. And then, I wasn't sure about the RoboCop thing, but that's fine. Carry on. Excellent. because I do want to look like Robocop. You see, that's so Karen.
Right. So, like many, in my teenage years, I was introduced to manga. More specifically, this one called Vagabond by Takehiko Inui. Apologies for any bad pronunciation. I don't want to be too cheesy, but this actually changed the way I looked at art and entertainment. It's an absolutely beautiful series of books. And yeah, reading manga, if anyone does in here, we all know it's quite a personal and unique experience when reading it. And there are millions of people who feel exactly the same way. Manga is absolutely huge. I think in 2022, manga alone was a $12 billion industry and is now predicted to be a $50 billion industry by 2032. So we've got AR and manga. How do we make this work? AR could bring manga stories to life by overlaying animated panels or scenes onto real-world surfaces. Well, that's what ChatGPT told me last night. But I think we can do better than that. I think we could use our imaginations a little bit. I'm sure you can think of an example of a character or a story where you felt so connected to it, it was almost like you're a part of it. It probably influences what you do creatively and maybe even influences what you do on a day-to-day period. With AR, we can recreate and enhance this sensation. And I believe manga readers would absolutely love to see their stories leak out into the physical world. For example, this panel on the right here. If I was reading this in my AR in front of me, perhaps the water could start to flow out and plants could start to grow in my room and populate where I am. Or we could have audio implementation, water flowing over the rocks, the plants rustling in the breeze, and perhaps the insects in the forest insecting, doing their thing.
Oh, pause, this is too good. Oh, sorry, you're doing so well. Right, so use of slides then. So as you will see, Tom's using reference material, zero text. Personally, I really like this. And there was some lovely, actually, I'll come back to the delivery bit in a minute. This is really strong. I really like this. Even though it's not your stuff, it's still giving a great reference point. And you've got laughs also. Laughs are good as long as they're coming naturally. You're not necessarily doing a gag, but you know it works. There was a nice reference there. In terms of delivery, so notice Tom's stance here. This is the classic. You're fine. It's fine. No judgment. I'm judging you. But it's the actually no. I'm going to do it. See if that way. Right. So you're quite. I guess you're quite tall. You sort of feel like you've got to kind of hide a bit. But there's also the holding on for dear life. Like you see, there's like white knuckles at the side there, like it's like a roller coaster. That can work. You may resume your position. So what I like to do, of course, because being a show-off, is to walk around. And what was lovely there is when you said perhaps the water could flow. There's a pause there, and then you talk about the insects insecting, which I like. But perhaps these things could happen. And I thought it was lovely, and it was just this. You notice that change in tone. It was like, what if we could do this? What if this could happen? And this is happening. So there's a lady called Nancy Duarte who's written some great stuff on stories in presentations, and she has a classic story structure that I think she's pretty much invented, which is, this is how things are. What if things were like this? This is how they are, and it's a lovely flow, and it finishes really nicely. But I'm thinking also to, I was going to say augment, but you've already used that word, but to add to that lovely feel of maybe this could be happening, is actually to walk around. Now, in this particular scenario, yeah, you'd be going in front of the slide, but that's okay because it's an absolutely huge screen. It's a rear projector screen, so you're not getting, images across your head, which, I've done that. We have like a text here, which is good. But that will walk around. But I was thinking that could really work. So even though this does lend itself pretty much to staying there, and I appreciate most people would want to stand absolutely stock still while they're delivering it, talking about, imagine if there was, I project the images onto the wall, and then there's water flowing, and then the sounds of crickets. Yes.
I was going to say, what about a bit of emotion as well? Like you're talking about, like you mentioned the water as well, like a bit of emotion as well, kind of get a little bit on the side of that.
So the thing is, what about some emotion?
Yeah, it's emotion. Like when he's like talking about it, maybe it's the emotion.
Oh, hang on, no, sorry, I need to be clear. Are you talking about motion or emotion? Motion. No, seriously. Oh, I was with it. No, I'm not. I thought that's what you wanted.
Generally, like as you was talking about like, the water, maybe that you could a little bit like it comes across as you get a little bit of energy in there. I don't know. That's why I was.
So right. So some Thank you. Some gesturing. You won't believe what they had me do last time. I had to go up to the front while someone had already spoken and put a microphone in their face. Right. So you mean yes? Birds land on your hand like Cinderella. You imagine a bird. Yeah, you hear a sound of woodland animals. Is that or is that too? I've gone too stand up. Sorry.
Lighter than that, but yeah, just general, just like a little bit lighter than that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what I was thinking with the walking around. Is just that, so we kind of picture you within that scenario, even though that's not been described yet. I've just realised I didn't do my introduction. Oh, brilliant. Egoless. It's good, isn't it? I'll do it at the end, because I'm a maverick. Okay, good. So that's working. Continue. Cool.
Just to check, how many people in here actually read manga or are interested in it in general? Cool. It's always nice to know. So I think we can take this a step further than just having it leak into our world. Why can't we be parts of these stories that we love? So I had the idea that maybe we could interact with them. We could choose the narrative by interacting with these panels. I could walk through a panel to choose an outcome of a story. This actually translates quite nicely into manga. There's a lot of side quests, side stories that we get individual volumes for. It's sort of that are canon, and this is just a more explorative way to access this content. And so will help the reader further embed themselves into the world, and will also allow them to interact with objects and collectibles, which is where I think this gets pretty cool and exciting. I promised I wasn't going to nerd out too much about this. I even wore a shirt to try and chill myself out. But I absolutely love the idea that I could be him. And no one could know. I could go to work in my AR dressed as him, and it'd just be me and nobody else. This could be really cool. I'm gonna need to calm down now before I start dancing around on stage, sword fighting. Yeah, and I just think this interactive community focus opens up a whole world for manga creators, better known as mangaka. And they can provide their fans with a wider variety of content, maybe even interactive tutorials on how to draw their capes, how to draw weapons, which real-time feedback with community members and even the mangaka themselves. So there is an application for learning and education in this as well. It's actually very prominent in the manga industry that historical events are used to create engaging narrative content, and also are used to give context to social, cultural, and political events that happened in the time period.
Pause. Sorry. Right. So asking questions is a great way to engage the audience, and that was really nice. Who's into manga? Who's reading it? Great. So there was something there. In terms of delivery, you then did a little bit. It was only a tiny bit, but I noticed it because I'm looking for it, which is the question intonation. So I'm going to talk like this. And it just, for me, and I know sometimes people naturally talk like that, but it feels like it's asking for approval. Is that maybe we could do this? It's like a hesitancy. So I find that sort of can affect your credibility slightly. But the idea of, and this is, I would argue, definitely your audience here, if you're going to talk about dressing up, oh my God, like yesterday, I wore what I felt was dressing up. So I had a bright red t-shirt, it's not dressing up, but I had what I felt was like kind of tech gear, and I'm thinking like, oh, I'm 51. You know, and I'm on the train. I thought, is this going to be okay? It's going to be okay. It feels good. I'm not sure. And I get here, no one mentions it. Like, none at all, because it's completely normal. So I like the idea that this is definitely part of knowing your audience. We talk about who wouldn't like to dress up like a feudal Japanese warrior. Like, that's just the most wonderful thing that I can think of. Yeah, brilliant. And anything else that you've noticed as we're going through? Yes. Excellent mic supply work.
Yeah, first time that's happened, I guess. So I think there's something in it's the sentence structure as well as being really difficult here. It's sort of stop starty because you can sort of tell it's reading.
Yeah.
And there's some like for myself, I find that really difficult to like pass. I'm having to like listen to the sentence and then like repass it in my head again.
Right.
And I'm almost getting lost and then almost dazing off because of it.
Wow.
So like, yeah, like I try and
That's
bring like
brutal, Tom.
yeah, sorry, just like a lot more fluidity to it.
Sorry, go
and
on.
be a lot more fluidity and be confident in that whole sentence.
Yeah.
And I know it's not just the pitching up at the top. It's almost doing too many pause. It's putting the pauses in the wrong places, effectively.
Yeah. So you want to get the pace right, but you've got. Were you reading the scripts?
No.
No. But something was happening. So something you were perceiving, something that felt it really was a bit of a barrier. That it felt a bit stop-start. So all I would say with that is, my general advice is just rehearse lots, but not verbatim. Like rehearse saying it lots with specific headings in mind, and then just talking around it is really good. And a stumble, it didn't matter because everything was working. And the stumble, when it happens, feels like, oh my God, it feels like 30 seconds, but you get back on track. It's quickly forgotten. Yes.
I just wanted to ask, because I'm curious, in terms of your script, is there an actual script that you have there, or is it bullet points and notes?
It is a script. I felt, honestly, I regret the decision to do that now.
Excellent.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be the best way, and I thought maybe I could quickly go in between and use the bullet points, but I can't do that. But yeah, it's a script. Yeah.
So you can hear it when it's a script, and I've heard it even on the radio. Someone's reading something, I think I can tell this is from a script. So we talked about this, and it's fine. So having all the text out there as a first pass is really good, but then the next stage has to be cues, just little headings, one word to talk around it. And of course, your fear is, what if I don't mention all the stuff? The audience doesn't know. So when you finish after having delivered something in a natural conversational way and you've talked around the key points, you might think, oh, I've missed something out. But for the audience, it feels absolutely complete. Excellent. Thank you.
I will add that it sounds like you're the most genuine when you're going a little bit off script and you're talking about it from like an emotional point of view versus when you're kind of like, oh, okay, like what's the next one? Oh, I need to add this into the sentence, which adds the previous point of kind of how it feels a little bit broken up because you're having to go, oh, yes, and I wanted to add this on as well. Yeah. But you sound the most confident and genuine, in those other moments where you're like, oh, yes, and I'm really excited about this and all these things.
Right.
Brilliant. Thank you. That's really good feedback. So they're having those key points and just talking around them, having fun with it, being in the moment is really important. And of course, what most people do is they're thinking, oh my God, what comes next? And then they come out of it. Excellent. Continue.
Great. No more of this, probably. Apart from now. So yeah, we're talking about this historical context and these storylines. There's a really good manga called, it's actually anime as well, called Golden Kamuy. I don't know if anyone has seen it or read it, but it explores Russo-Japanese War, the Ainu indigenous tribe, and the cultural conflicts that were happening at that time. I was absolutely loving when I was reading this and kind of then Googling, like, who is this? Was this the years are real? The people sometimes are even the real names. I'm sure that they couldn't do what they do in these mangas, but you learn about things in real life through these. So in AR, how can we do this? How can we make this more interesting? How can we make this quick? We can have interactive annotations and context as you're reading through the manga. It doesn't have to be there the whole time. It's an option that you could have. Say when I'm reading Vinland Saga about Thorfinn and his journey to Vinland, something pops up and it says, oh, go follow this, learn about him, and have annotations and dates, all stuff that I find quite interesting. I don't know if anyone else finds dates interesting, but they are. So yeah. So we've got all these possibilities and avenues for manga in AR. So how could a studio or someone do this? There's an awful lot. We need to work with the mangaka in order to keep that cultural identity and artistic integrity that they have, and allow them to be the creators and keep their stories going, while also being able to implement it into the future. I think that's everything I have.
Brilliant. Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much. Brilliant. Yeah. Excellent. Oh, you can remain there. Right. Good. What was the next slide then? I thought there was another slide. What about this one?
I did have something else. It was something I just wanted to briefly touch on. I don't know if is anyone from End Dreams here? No? They're third-party publishing this game called Sushi Ben. It's by a studio called Big Brain. It's more just like a shout out. You should go and look at what this is going to be. This is really cool. It's got these interactive manga panels in VR. This is kind of where I originally sort of got the idea from. Of course, it's more storytelling and not so much making a manga into an AR, but it's quite clear that there's something here, and some really big companies are investing in these ideas of manga in different formats. Just wanted to bring that up.
Brilliant. Good. Well done. Excellent. Thank you very much. Right. Okay. So that, for me, structurally, that's really, really important. Oh, yes, you, sir. Right, you see, right, and why? Why was so? You said the delivery of that part was the delivery of that was the best part. Why? Why was it the best?
It felt so natural. You were passionate about what you're looking at, and you wanted us to know about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You should go and see this. It's made by these people, right? So isn't that funny how that comes out? So my initial thought was start with that. Go, here's this thing. This is awesome. I've got an idea based off that, because if you're pitching, something that's already established. And in fact, I don't know if any of you were here for the panel beforehand, something that's established is great and gets investors excited rather than going, oh, this sounds a bit weird. Oh, some other people have made something, or, this thing's successful. Great. We're going to segue beautifully into a Q&A. It's already happening. There were hands raised. You'd raise your hand first. Sorry. Yes. Yes. And then there's going to be feedback as well.
I was just going to say that you just sold me on that last game so much better than you sold me on your actual product. I felt that that one, you kind of weren't so self-conscious about it. You kind of knew that you loved it and that it was great. So you were able to talk about look at this awesome thing. I'm so happy to share it with you. Whereas everything you talked about for your own ideas, you were just kind of I hope people like it. Have you seen this thing? I hope you like it too. Yeah. Which is, I mean, it's charming, but it doesn't really make me jazzed, right?
How interesting. So that's a really good point. Now I'm trying to think, how do we draw on that to to apply in a pitch? Is it don't rehearse much, but make sure you know your stuff really well, or is it just trying tapping into that energy and finding out how what is it about this that excites me, and then communicate that? And maybe it needs to be that objective needs to be I've got something really exciting to share with people, not I mustn't mess this up or I have to get these points out exactly. But I'm not sure, because that feels sort of counterintuitive. It's almost like don't practice, have some really cool things. But I'm all about rehearsal. You got to rehearse and be at one with it. Perhaps being really at one with it, you can tap into that and just have some fun with it. Yes. You were next, but unfortunately, sorry, Mike's there. It's back with him again. Wait a second.
Me again. Sorry.
Okay, we'll work it out. Yes.
It's kind of just a point of what you're saying there is that the bullet points, I think, when you're presenting to, say, get funding, for example, you want to make sure you talk about the important bits that they need to know or whatever. So those are more the reminders that, oh yeah, I've got to talk about this and I've got to talk about that in order they know that they need the funding. The rest of it, however, can be virtually unrehearsed. Like just then, it's all about, I really know my thing and I'm just going to explain it. Yes,
so that's a really good point. So yeah, there'll be key things that they need to know about. And I think it was, again, in the previous one, I think it was Ella Romanos said, there can be this, sometimes when people pitch, go, I've made this amazing thing, I've got some incredible slides, here it is, but there's nothing about how long it's going to take, how much it's going to cost, how people are going to get, so you've got to have that, not boring stuff, it's important stuff, but it's what's important for the investors. So you could just have a slide with those key bits, those key bullets, you're right. And then the rest of it is, here are all these exciting things. This is the team. This is what makes us tick. This is what we love. We're working on this. We've done some research. We know that there's a great audience for this, and then being excited about it. So actually, what I quite like about that, and that's going against my own advice, is if you've got good material, if you've got some nice, simple, strong visuals, because you're working on the project and you're in it, then you can enthuse about it and know, you know the subject inside out, so you don't have to do a ton of rehearsal. So now I'm changing my mind, and now it should be talk about this thing, but make sure you hit the key points. I think is what's important. I think this lady was next.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think in general, his last part, ever since you stopped him last time, he did way better because he didn't read off script. Like, you could tell he wasn't reading off script because he wasn't looking down at all. Yeah. And he was way more natural that way. So I think that advice of not going with the script, I think that was great. And I think it made it better.
So I've had a lot of occasions where I've worked with someone on a piece, maybe like a 2 or 3 minute piece. And we're iterating it, and I'm saying, I think this is important, and maybe start with this. And I say, do you know what? Do it without the script. And they think this is impossible. It'll be a disaster. They do it. It's brilliant because they know the stuff, and what isn't important kind of falls to the wayside, and then something more interesting will pop up, and they'll do a nice bit of writing, like on the fly. They'll use a metaphor that is just brilliant and sparkly and works. So if you really know it, then you can just deliver that. And if you miss something out, it doesn't matter because it'll come out in a conversation afterwards. Fantastic. Thank you. This is great feedback. Any other? Yes. There's loads. Yes, we'll go with you. Good.
You did a little verbal thing at one point. I just picked up on it because it's something I do, and I really hate it when I do it. So when you were talking about dates, you were saying, like, I don't know if anyone finds dates exciting, but they are. So yeah. And that little at the end kind of like undermines your own point. Like, I catch myself doing it of like, if I just not said those words, I would have made my point better. I've just kind of deflated it and trailed off into nothing at the end.
Yeah. Right. That's a really good. So that was really funny. I don't know if any of you find dates interesting. If they are, fact, right? That was great. And then, and then it's that telling of, and you're right. And this is what lots of people do. We cannot stand a vacuum. Again, I think it's a very British thing. We have to fill that empty space with something, anything at all. And it tends to be an or an or some word like obviously is a good one. And I've seen people speak where they've used obviously 5 times in a minute. And after the 3rd one, you think there's something here. And after the 5th one, you realize that's it. That's all they ever say. And it's horribly undermining. So whilst it is terrifying, if you can get comfortable with the silence, it's a great way of controlling the room. That's the power of a pause there. Years in the game. Okay. Any other thoughts or feedback? And then we'll get into some questions. You've done a fantastic job, incidentally. Absolute heroic. So I'm really... he's behind you in a pantomime way. You mean you don't have rabbit-like 320-degree vision? Yes?
It felt like as soon as you started talking with your hands, everyone immediately started paying a lot more attention. And like, I think that was kind of a really big kind of, you almost focused attention on you, which I think worked really well.
Wonderful. So perhaps that's the coming out from behind the lectern. So even though it feels like that's where you should stay, as soon as you come out from behind it, then you have to gesture, right? Because you have to be... So you thought that the gesturing really sort of brought it to life. That's really interesting because no one knows what to do with their hands when they're speaking, obviously. So if I put my hands at my side like this, that's fine. That's completely normal. But now that you've noticed my hands are at my side, I look like an imbecile. So you have to gesture or do something. I've seen people give a talk with a pen for no discernible reason, but it worked. It seems to work. Or even index cards, cue cards, or the clicker. And here we have a fantastic Radio Shack clicker from it's Tandy, obviously. And and just having that just feels like it's a totem. It feels like it's something to hold. So coming out from behind the lectern, I recommend it. Depends on how much real estate you've got to work with. And obviously, if you're stuck behind a table, there's not much you can do. Brilliant. Right, there was somebody else. Oh, there's loads. Cool. Oh, you have the microphone. You literally are holding the ultimate totem in this room. Yeah. It's me now.
It just leads into kind of what I was thinking as well, with what you said, just kind of the way he interacted. I think he could have done a bit more interaction with the audience as well. He obviously asked the questions related to the knowledge of like previous things, but I think some instances where he was talking, he could have maybe chimed in and said, and interacted with people, say, what do you guys think of this? And then replied with actual information, like say, remember when he mentioned how he's going to do something? It was at that point, if he asked, oh, how would you guys do this? And then he chimed in and said, oh, this is how I'm going to do it. That's
Yes.
I think would have been a bit more powerful to command it a little bit more.
It's a risky maneuver though, because you might get zero response.
Yeah, it might sway. That's the only thing.
And then you got to go there and then. But this is what I would do.
Yeah.
But questions in principle are excellent. So rhetorical questions are great. No, well, so how would we do this? What's the answer? And then carrying on. So, yeah, good. All right, thank you. There's loads. This is good.
Hi. So I'm playing this as someone who is being pitched to a lot. And I think that's part of why the last bit worked really well. And
This is going to haunt. This is the last slide.
Yeah.
I'm going to send it to you in a month's time. Remember this, the best bit.
It has to do with the fact that you were speaking about the game, that this is how the game is, this is how it is. Whereas I really dislike the perhaps, blah, 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 blah,
Okay.
or maybe, or it could.
Yes, yes.
Because even though the game doesn't exist yet, the project does, you still do have a vision, and I think you can talk about it as it is in your head or on the paper, and it makes it more convincing rather than having, yeah, maybe you wouldn't know, you know. Thank you.
Merci. Emphatic is that we want to be absolutely emphatic. Thank you. Any mention of the word emphatic? It's just brilliant. I had a bet with someone. Yeah, we will do this. We're going to do this, and then we'll do this. Even if the plan changes, it doesn't matter. Yeah, now we've changed course. But you're absolutely right. Yeah, maybe perhaps it feels a bit fluffy, even though, yeah, it's in the future. It's not certain. But yeah, that's a really good point. So we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Being absolutely emphatic. Thank you. And we can go into asking questions as well, if you like.
Hi. So you talked about the clicker just a little bit earlier as well. I liked your flow of information, but anytime that you had to skip a slide, you struggled with technology, right? So, and this quite distracting as well. So, yeah, helpful advice, just stay on top of your technology, because this is something that takes us out.
Absolutely, yeah. If you so that's that. You know, I like to do the surreptitious clicks where, and also with that, and I think I don't know if you did this, but I'll say it anyway. People are sometimes so reliant on their slides that they'll be surprised by their own slide, and this is not a good look. So even though we've got this monitor here, which is fantastic, sometimes what can happen is, you know, they click and they go, oh, and now, you know. So much better, I find, it's to know what's coming next, however that works, whether you've got the dual monitor setup, which is a tricky one, or just printouts or notes or anything. You can see, right, next thing is, you know, X. And you say, right, so that brings us to X. And then you do the click, it pops up, and then it feels like you're leading it, and then that comes along. But yeah, in fact, I think you were looking, I saw you looking at your notes, and then, but you're right, there was a sort of moment of, this is going to be a transition. Having said that, yeah, using clicker, really important. I did see a talk here many years ago where somebody walked all the way over to go tap on the keyboard to advance the slides. And also, this was a presentation where there were two people. So even if you weren't aware of clicker technology, there were two of you. So one of you could have done, it doesn't matter. But yeah, it's just, it's all part of making it seamless and being ready. So, you know, I will come on with the click and go, right, this is the thing, here's the first one, and then away. Yeah, wonderful. I saw it. Yes, you have the mic.
Again, I just wanted to say, I think everyone's been kind of taking turns telling you what you did wrong. I'm sorry about that.
It's great, isn't it?
I wanted to just tell you that it was actually genuinely really impressive that you get interrupted, criticized sometimes about your speech patterns, and then just kind of go with it and be like, right, yeah, okay, let me go do this, and still do it with a smile. I would have burst into tears. So like,
That's on the inside.
I know. I just wanted to say that, like, you're amazing about this, and you were very brave and did a great job. Like, I don't want it to just be constant, like, oh, and also I don't like the way you read or whatever, you know. So
yeah,
yeah, and yes, exactly. Yes, yeah, good. Yeah, I don't bandy the word heroic around, you know, at all. That was used judiciously, but you're absolutely right. Yes, well done. And another thing we didn't like. Okay, yes.
noticed something, like I noticed that as well, the ease with which you sort of took feedback and continued. And it kind of made me think of how often in presentations, I sort of get rattled by a single thing. And then it sort of, I guess it takes way too much of my attention. Do you have any advice on how you can reset yourself?
Yes. So I did a talk here a year ago, 45-minute thing in ballroom, whatever's over there. And 10 minutes in, I thought I was dying I thought I was dying, right? I just thought it was going wrong. And because there hadn't been feedback. And so it was fine, but somehow my spider sense had said, right, you've got to interact, you've got to change gear, you've got to do something. So yeah, it's important to keep that energy up, but also with an audience, sometimes you might have someone who happens, their resting, interested face might look, you know, like quite psychotic, and you think, oh my God, they're not enjoying it. It's easy to get distracted by someone, or indeed, if someone's got a phone and they're doing notes, you think, oh my God, how rude. Like they're just, just not paying any attention at all. Or they're busily using it, but they happen to be tweeting that they think you're brilliant. So it's not getting too distracted by what's going on. I'm very easily distracted, as you probably noticed. You keep going, but also just keeping a sense of what's going on in the room. Right, we're going to wrap up in just a moment. Let's just do. Oh yeah, fantastic! Oh, brilliant! Oh, brilliant!
Who are you?
Who are you? Yeah, that's right. It's the voice of God. No, define yourself. Yeah, brilliant. That was perfect timing. So I'm John. I teach confident communication. So I've been going for 10 years, self-employed. Worked in the games industry for about 15, 16 years. Worked at Argonaut, Sony, Cambridge, Criterion, and I did stand-up comedy for 10 of those years, and then full-time for 2 years in the middle of all that. And I basically apply what I've learned from stand-up into business. Thank you so much. That was brilliant. Remember that other bit. Okay, great. Well, look, we'll be here for a while, so you can come and ask us questions afterwards. Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you.